Welcome to the Market Main podcast. My name is Mapeus. I'm your host today. And today on the show, we have Derrick Urban, owner of Elite Customs Painting and Power Washing, Mulch Master Spray Solutions. That's a difficult name for me at least, and Elite Auto Styling. So, welcome to the show, Derrick.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, tell me a little bit about like how you got to own three companies and run it, and that's not the first three companies that you founded at age 26.
Yeah, these three kind of came about because, one, I dropped out of college. I just started realizing that college was too expensive and it wasn't going to give me the lifestyle I wanted, and I figured I needed to go out and just start working. So I started working, didn't like the people I was working with, didn't like the people I was working for. I got bored really fast and just got tired of being told exactly what to stick to and not being let off the leash, so to speak, to try new things, to grow the business, my income, commission based through other ways. They just wanted me to stick to what they knew. And that was kind of frustrating for me, and I got bored. So I left those businesses, and I started, fell back on what I kind of grew up doing, which was painting and power washing with my dad. Now year to date, I've got about 14 plus years of experience with painting and power washing. Now I run my own business, and it pays my bills. The other two businesses are what I call kind of like growth and expansion businesses. That's not going to only grow and expand my pocket eventually, but also other people that come work for me. Also, my general wealth overall, and will create generational wealth, which is what I'm really mainly set on. And those businesses will kind of prosper and then allow my kids and grandkids one day, and so on, as long as the family tree wants to continue these things, to be successful, be less stressed out when it comes to finances and things like that. So that's the reason for me starting my own businesses. I have three of them because I get bored with just one thing. But that's kind of why I started it and how I started them.
Do they have anything to do with each other? Like, is there like any cross platform sales possible or anything like that?
No.
How did you go from like, power washing and painting to, let's say, mulch? Like,
yeah. So, I started off with just painting and power washing. I was kind of wrapping cars here and there, just, whatnot. Mulch Masters actually came a little later on in my path. And it just was kind of dropped in my lap. It's something that's really unique, that's eco-friendly, that a guy in Atlanta patented, and he's the only one that can sell the product, but he has BASF Chemical Company make the product. And his, son and has friends, and it just word of mouth kind of got to me and my dad. And we went down and met with them, and they grandfathered us in. And that's going to be the business, I believe, that will kind of take me to where my dreams are currently and beyond, and be generational.
Oh, really? Okay. So, but that's all licensing stuff, like where you have to like take a license from that guy that you are allowed to like actually use their system. Or?
Everything kind of builds on itself. With the painting, I'm used to spraying houses and spraying things, and that translates into me, spraying a car with a liquid peelable wrap, and then that translates into me spraying mulch or pine straw in flower beds. So I've got the skill to spray and not make a mess. So when I go into spraying these mulch beds and pine straw beds, that kind of all translates. So I've already pretty much been trained in it. I went down there for a day, and they're like, here, take a try at it. Showed me maybe a few tips that helped me kind of control the, speed, the trigger, the pressure, whatever. And then they sent me on my way. And I've been doing that now, a couple jobs a month here and there that just kind of pay for the truck itself and and advertising. So
like, the more you talk, the more I realize that I don't even know what you're talking about. So explain a little bit to me exactly the mulch thing, right?
Yeah. So
what exactly, are you talking about?
Yeah. So, it's Mulch Master Spray Solutions. And first off, I named it that because there's a lot of mulch in our area. A lot of people don't use pine straw up here like Atlanta. So we can spray both. Now, we have pretty much a truck with a 200-gallon tank in the back of it that holds liquid, and we mix our liquid colorant and the water solution in there. It's eco-friendly, acts as a fertilizer to plants. It's water-based, so if it gets on something, we rinse it off before it dries, and it saves customers money. It's cheaper for them to have their mulch and pine straw resprayed versus completely redone. It keeps people from having to cut their beds so much. So big commercial jobs like, Lee University, or a job I'm about to do, Remember Me Senior Care, they've got a lot of pine straw out there at that place. Instead of people, them having somebody come in and redo it, I do it for a lot cheaper.
So it's basically just like giving it a new coat and make it look like, fresh again.
It keeps it from decaying as fast, and it also keeps it looking new. Mulch 6 to 8 months, pine straw over a year. So it's a money saver. It adds longer beauty to golf courses, which they love it, and just commercial places, municipal, residential, you name it.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that, because I really had no idea. I was like, okay, what is this? All right. So now, but that was the initial question I had. Is there anything like that, makes this, connected? And you said it's the spraying, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you spray paint,
right.
The car wrapping, is that spray too?
I started off spraying, like dip your car, and then rail coatings. It's all a spray on product that I kind of explain it like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Plasti Dip.
No.
So it's a rubberized spray that comes out kind of like Flex Seal in a way, I guess you could say, that you see on the commercials, but it dries smoother, and it's peelable. So it leaves no residue or anything like that. So like if you put hairspray on, your hair or whatever, it goes on wet and it dries and kind of forms and it bonds together. Same thing with that, but it's more rubber based.
So it's basically just like giving it a coat, so you
right.
protect the actual paint job.
Yeah, it protects the paint job underneath or hides the paint job underneath, depending on the condition. Off-roading Jeeps and trucks, they like to use it. If you're hauling a car on an open trailer, we can spray the front of it, with 8 to 10 coats, which is very protective. And then, they can go racing on a track with their brand new Mercedes or Ferrari.
But protected. There's but you say you do advertisements with that too, right? So if I want to wrap my truck, with a logo on it and stuff like that, how you spray that?
So we went from spray and realized we're missing the market for vinyl, which is a sticker kind of based thing with adhesive and plastic vinyl.
Kind of like what we have in our windows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are now offering vinyl, and we're newer in that area, but that's our most successful area in the business.
Okay.
So we really I'm doing a 40-foot camper today, actually. My workers, Luke, is actually working on that right now. I've got a 46-foot yacht I'm going to be doing in October, just completely color changing it. I've got a seaplane that I'm going to be doing as well, just waiting on graphic shops to get back with me. So we got a lot a lot of jobs in the works that I can't keep up with, along with my painting business, which is just exploding with work right now.
So, and you mentioned like other people working for you. Like, how many people work for you?
Just one right now.
Just one person?
Yep.
Like in the wrapping business, and then what about the others?
Everything. He helps me with everything. He's kind of like my right-hand guy. I just posted it out there to about 1,200 people that follow me on Instagram for my car club that I do in my free time, which is very rare. And then my Elite Auto Styling is also through that. So I posted it up in there, and he's the only one out of 1,200 people that, high schoolers, college kids, people everywhere responded, interested in helping me out with work.
Okay.
So he's the only one right now, but again, I'm looking to delegate work out to somebody else in the car community that wants to work in like Elite Auto Styling business, for instance.
Okay. Well, if anyone wants to work there you go. No, I get it. Like leverage is a very important thing to learn. Had to learn it the hard way myself. Like I was a freelance programmer for the longest time in my business, and like the moment I really realized that leverage is what gets me to the next level, that changed my life. My business, me too. I have 2 businesses, actually on paper it's 3, but that's another story. The whole deal is like, okay, so why marketing like what we do right now when my main business is industrial automation, right?
Yeah.
So I founded that business just to run my in-house marketing.
Right.
Did it myself, by the way. I was just on paper.
Same.
So did everything myself, always, all the time, right? And then now we're working with a lot of freelancers in the industrial automation business. I do not go and program myself anymore. I have done some project management lately, but since April, I'm basically just working on the business rather than in the business, and growth is exponential since then. The moment you realize, like, okay, I need help.
Yep.
I only have 24 hours a day, right?
Right.
So what am I going to do now? So
Yep.
what I said was like, okay, hired an office manager, and with the new company, I was like, I'm going to do a relaunch, and I'm going to do exactly what I did for myself, content marketing for other people too. I just going to do it the right way. So I have the funds. The other business is doing great.
Yep.
I took a bunch of money, and built this,
Yep.
right? A video studio, podcast room, all that kind of stuff. Started with a team of 7.
Yep.
So from like 0 to 7.
Yeah.
Because I know if I do it the way I did it with the other company, it's going to be year number 6 until I hire people.
Yep.
Like really professionally hire people.
Right.
People that are there to take away work from me, not people that I hire that do the same than, like working.
Right.
So that absolutely changed it.
Yeah.
That's absolutely changed
that
it.
That mindset shift from I've got to do everything myself.
Yeah.
And, because I want it to be perfect and I know what I'm doing, and it's going to be really hard to find somebody else that is willing to do it at my level. Well, you don't need to find that one other person. You can find 2 other people and split the workload.
Well,
and
that's
they do just
that.
good
And
work.
I'm also not a perfectionist. All right. So I have never been like that. I was always like, hey, you know what? Does it work? All right, out.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like, wow, if I wait until I'm perfect, I'm probably going to be out of business before that happens. Right.
Yep.
And there was no output until then.
Yeah, I just saw that happen with my with a neighbor of mine in the shop. They wanted their shop to be absolutely spotless and perfect and set up with every tool they could possibly need, rather than working with the $20,000 worth of tools that they already had,
right,
and doing the jobs they could do with those tools.
Exactly.
And working weekends and still keeping their full-time job. Instead they just said, well, I'm too tired. I want to have time for myself. Well, that's the only time you're going to have for yourself if you don't sacrifice time now for more time later. And I saw him go out of business and, just completely throw thousands of dollars away.
Right.
And grand opening and everything. And just gone, which is really sad to see. And I feel bad for them. I tried giving them advice, but, you can, lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, kind of thing. So
my wife says so. Absolutely right. No, that's right. There's there's multiple ways to skin a cat, right? So
exactly,
you can have a lean business where you start and never take debt and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Or you grab into like other people's other people's pockets and get their money, in terms of like debt or whatever. And then do it that way, and you start with something. Oh, we're ready, right?
Right.
But you have to be able to afford this, right? You have to have the backup of that,
right?
Right. So I can do this because I have the funds,
right?
But my first business, I started with 0 debt.
Yep.
Nothing. Well, that's not 100% true. I had 2 credit cards with a total of 10,000 in limit, right?
Right.
That's how I started my business. But I didn't use it to buy anything for the business. I just used it to like bridge the few months until I made money, right?
Exactly.
So,
I've been there before myself.
Well, the thing is this: like, if I could today, I would not do it like that anymore. I would try to go even more all in with stuff. Where I'm like, okay, what do I need? How can I build a company where I do use leverage from the get-go?
Right.
Right. And I have this like, I had this dream, like it was on my vision board for 2 years in a row, right? I was like, okay, I wrote on my vision board 10 times 10 times 10. So I need 10 people working 10 hours a day for me every day.
Right.
Making $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
$10. That's not hard, right?
Right.
That's more than $300,000 a year, just profit for me in the pocket.
Right.
Right. So how hard is it really to find someone making $10 for you an hour, right? And then make them work 10 hours. Even if they only work 300 days, that's $300K.
Yeah.
Now, you find that 3 more times, you're a millionaire.
Right.
Like every year. Like keeping money, right?
Yep.
I mean, of course, before tax, but,
right.
but that's something where, the leverage game, is like, how can I do this? How can I get in front of more people that I can actually accomplish something like that? And it's all, it's people.
Right.
It's people. It's not money. It's people.
Exactly. And that's, my dad, he was a perfectionist, and when he was painting and power washing and, all of those things. And, he did very well for himself, well enough to give us a middle class kind of upbringing in life, one that he and my mom didn't have, which was a huge achievement for him. And, we've lived in small, little tiny houses. We've lived in, fixer uppers. We've lived in, 6,000 plus square foot home. So I've seen all sides of, the cube, the cube of life, I guess you could say. I've been through it all with my family. And I've been blessed to have seen, third world countries on mission trips through my church. I've been blessed to see, multimillionaires' lifestyles. I've seen it all. And, I've been told all my life, money doesn't make you happy. Well, it doesn't. I think it does bring happiness, but it doesn't bring joy. Joy is something different than happiness in my book. Joy is long lasting, and it is memories. It's something that fills your heart, your soul. Happiness is something that comes and goes. It's in the moment, things like that. So if I buy my dream car, my dream helicopter, or whatever, I'm going to be pretty dang happy. That money made me happy because I was able to do that. I could buy, my wife a diamond bracelet or, necklace or whatever. It'll make her happy, but it's not joy. Joy is something that is longer lasting. And that's why, I've looked at millionaires and they're unhappy. I've looked at poor people and they're very happy. Well, the poorer folks have more time because they don't have much work. They don't have much money. But what you do with your time is when that then brings you joy, which is like kind of a combination of happiness and joy. You know what I mean?
It's an interesting way to see it. I mean, again, this is all about the perspective, right?
Right.
That's your perspective because that's the person you are, right?
Right.
Like what you said, you went from, third world countries over seeing how millionaires live. You see very happy poor people. You see very unhappy rich people, right? But again, that's all it's the perspective. And it's also in my opinion, and this is just me, this is my perspective, right?
Right.
Happiness is a choice. So
that's 100% true.
It's like, hey, I'm happy all the time. I mean,
right.
I'm laughing on the inside, but
right.
That's just me. I'm not, most of the time, I'm not unhappy. Yeah. Even when something bad happens to me, I'm kind of, all right, I'm pissed at the point, right?
Right.
But, I take the good out of that. Exactly. No matter what it is, okay, what did I learn out of that, right? It's money, this whole money doesn't make you happy. Well, maybe you don't know where to shop. So
right.
that's one thing. And then the other thing is, okay, so I'm not going to be unhappy. So just because, I have a lot of I don't have free time. I love it.
Right.
It's perspective, right?
Right.
I'm just that person.
Right.
I'm a workaholic, right? I love it, right?
Well, that's the goal.
I'm starting to destroy myself if I have too much free time on hand, right? I drink too much, I eat too much, all that kind of stuff, right? Bored. I get depressed, right? Because, it's just nothing to do. Where's the meaning for my life, right?
Right. I
have been there, not very long at the time, but I have been there and I made the decision to just not be depressed anymore because that's, my opinion, that's my decision, right? I make a decision to make the best out of life and be happy. If I have money or time or whatever I want,
exactly.
It doesn't matter. It's how you see it's a decision.
Exactly.
Okay.
You've got to
what
stay
is
optimistic.
There, right. What is there to be happy about right now, right? Every morning, and I said that the other day, every morning, where I wake up with a work authorization for the United States in America, that's a great day.
Mm-hmm.
That's an absolute great day.
Yep.
Could be worse, right? It's like, why would I do that? It would be even worse if I would be back home.
Right.
So I'm originally from Germany, shit hits the fan right now down there.
Yeah.
All right. So economically, gas prices, energy in particular, there's war around the corner, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I'm here and I'm looking at people that complain about, everything is free in Europe. Okay. Everything was free there. That's like 20% sales tax. That's how free everything was, right? So right now you pay $10 per gallon. $10, $10 per gallon.
Right.
Where's the free stuff?
Right.
Right. I'm waking up in America. I'm able to work and live here. Great. And if that's just one thing, I have a healthy family, a beautiful wife, all that kind of stuff, right? It's something where, well, if you think about that from that perspective, it's like, what is there? What can happen? Right.
Right. And that's, that's important. Like that's something that we have in common. We've seen, different parts of the world, and different parts of the world have different mindsets.
Absolutely.
They have, different circumstances that, they have, different upbringings and cultural traditions. And the solution in my mind, in my book, to be able to help anyone anywhere is figure it out yourself, learn from others' mistakes, and just keep bettering yourself, staying positive, being optimistic, which is huge. Yeah, you're going to get depressed sometimes. Yeah, you're going to get upset. Yeah, you're going to get mad. But in everything, there's a lesson. And, I'm a Christian myself, so that's just what I believe. And it's my beliefs and, my faith and the Bible has really helped me to kind of justify, what people are telling me and what's actually true, and then I don't just take it at face value. I actually dig into it, and read more into it. And I'm like, okay, this is what they actually mean right now. And that makes a lot of sense. And, you're always growing, you're always changing. So a book, that's written, you might, read it once. Oh, that hit me this way. You go back and you're in a different stage in your life. Then you go back and read that same thing, and it means a completely different thing. Same thing when you look at happiness. I'm happy now. Then you're in a different stage here. Guess what? You're in a different type of happiness is going to, and it just, everything's always evolving, always moving, always growing. And if you are negative or always upset, always depressed, that to me means stuck.
Well,
that means
stagnant. It will compound also. Like if you're like always negative, like I had a like I said, like I came over here a few years ago. I had a lot of friends over in Germany. A lot of them negative people.
Yep.
I just cut them out of my life.
Wow.
Right. So it's like, okay, why would I, spend so much time and energy on someone that like just pulls you down all the time?
Right. And that hurts. I've not necessarily like, had to hardcore cut anybody, I guess, and it's a figure of speech, but it's like you realize, okay, yeah, I've got this group of friends and I'm always hanging out. I'm always making the effort. I'm always making the effort to hang out, to do things, to, make memories and, build a relationship. If you just stop making that connection, will they actually make a connection, or will you always have to be that person?
Well, that's the whole point. It's like, yeah, cutting it
exactly
out. It's like,
right.
It's a harsh word, or like a harsh phrase. But, for me, it was easy because, when I was in Germany, I hung out with people, negative, like not everyone, but a lot of people, right? Because they were just unhappy with themselves.
Right.
Right. You could tell.
That's a big point right there.
So they're unhappy. They're like, oh my God. And especially like the German culture is like, it's never good, right? People are complaining about too weather too hot, weather too cold, too much rain,
Sounds like
not
America.
Enough rain. It's like, oh my God. It's just this, it's cultural. All right. But at the same time, you have those really negative people that really, they sit in front of you and then something bad happens to them, and it's like, oh, the universe is against me, this and that. You know what? I was like, no, like you should take, the reins here and like hold yourself accountable for what is happening to you. It's like things don't happen to me anymore.
Right.
Things happening because of me.
Exactly.
Good or bad.
Yep.
Right. I make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes.
But do you learn from them or do you not? That's what keeps you in the playing.
Well, that's the thing. So
exactly.
Big mistakes I make once, right?
Right.
Then sometimes I make a big mistake twice because I believe in people, right? So I give people the benefit of the doubt, and then I got proven wrong the second time over. That's like people say, screw me once, that's on you. Screw me twice, that's on me, right?
Yep.
So that's very true. But that's just like, I rather believe in people than be the negative person, right? But there's just people that are so negative to themselves, and then they try to just like drag you down.
And that's something I realized. There's a lot of negative people out there, like you're saying, and I was always trying to be the people pleaser. Be the peace. Find the peace, but you can only try to please somebody so much, make them happy. But then once I realized, what? It's not me that they're not because they're not happy. They're blaming it on me, but the root of it is, there's always a deeper root. The root of it is they're unhappy with themselves. And I didn't start really believing in myself and focusing on me, and my future and my dreams, and kind of putting others people's happiness to the side that weren't important as I thought they were. I started focusing on me and what I wanted in life, and I started, just spending alone time with myself. And I hated being alone. I still hate it, but I also I forced myself to do it, and I focused on the things that I love to do, like guitar, music, drawing, and just business planning, like whatever.
Right.
And I realized my time is freaking valuable. I could sit here and plan out a year's worth of moves and things that I need to do to grow as a person in business, with my skills in art, whatever I wanted to do, and my hobbies or whatever. And within a day of just me being by myself and getting comfortable with who I am, I'm now more confident. I believe in myself, and I'm happier because of it. Because I know I'm not the issue. I know I'm okay with who I am and myself, and therefore I'm able to bring other people up genuinely and make them realize their potential because I've realized, mine. And we can now, collaborate, work together. But if somebody's negative and they're always, upset about something, it's because not necessarily who they're blaming it on, but because of themselves.
Exactly. So
yep.
I get into that with a lot of people, especially family, right? Where I see it the same way. The thing is this: I'm not responsible for your feelings, right? That's your responsibility, right? You need to, come to peace with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't blame it on me that you don't feel good, right?
Right.
The thing is that, especially when it's like, okay, yeah, of course, if I say something bad to you, that's me.
Right.
That's on me. But like, if I do something that is unrelated to you, then how is that?
Right.
How is that my fault?
Well, it's
right. It's like that's you, how you perceive the world, and you're just like, oh my God, it was so bad. But
right.
it's like I said, I'm not responsible for your feelings. Right. I'm responsible for mine. Right. I have to make peace with myself. And again, this whole like accountability and self-reflection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Self-reflection is very hard for a lot of people.
Right.
They don't want to sometimes, because that takes a lot out of you. That means like you have to admit that you're not perfect.
Right.
You make mistakes. You might be rude to people that you thought you weren't, or again, in general, you make mistakes and you have to admit them to yourself. Sit down and say, okay, did I do anything wrong here? Right? It's like,
right.
What did I do that escalated this situation, or whatever? That is that's very important. And then at the same time, once you master that, once you can step away for like a little bit and say, hey, you know what? Okay, I'm not perfect. I mess up a lot.
Right.
And what can I do to make that better? Right. And like admit, that's on me.
Right.
Everything is your fault now. That changes everything.
Right. When you take responsibility, which a lot of people don't do, I've started realizing, majority of adults out there, are just bigger kids. They're still uncomfortable themselves. They're still insecure. They're, all these things. And, they don't take responsibility. And that's when they make bad decisions, because they're basing their decisions off of emotion and not logic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, this person did this. That hurt me, but why did it really hurt me? Why did they make that decision? Maybe they made that decision because that's the best one they knew to make, and it's not really intended to hurt me.
Right.
And so I shouldn't feel bad about it right now, because maybe I should just go ask them. And that's another thing that's an issue today, and whether it be business, whether it be family, whether it be, friends, relationships, whatever the case may be, communication. Open and transparent communication solves a lot of your issues before they even get to become an issue.
Yes. I always say that communication is like so important. You can almost solve any problem, right? It's like, if you get the communication correctly, depends on, you have to play the player, not the game, right? Like everyone communicates differently.
Right.
And then for me, I always have a little bit of a problem, because sometimes I say stuff and I mean something really specific.
Right.
But, the way I phrase it then doesn't click with a lot of Americans, because, it's not my language. It's not my first language. So I'm trying very hard, but, there's still stuff like where that sometimes doesn't work.
Yeah, different dialects. Like somebody.
It's not only the dialect. It's just, we had that like a few weeks ago. We were here renovating, right?
Right.
we had a bunch of like trash in the big room. So I told my son, hey, take those bags and put them in front of the door, right? What he did was like he took the bags and put them in front of the door on the inside. I was like losing it. I was like, of course I meant outside, but well,
trash.
Didn't say that. Right. So like 2 weeks later, one of my employees, same thing. I was like, hey, can you take those buckets and put them in front of the door? What does he? Like takes the buckets and puts them on the inside. I was like, okay, that's on me. All right. If two different people, 2 different ages understand it the right way, then it's on me. Then I didn't communicate right. So I have to take the blame there, right? If we communicate something, especially when you enter this phase now where you have employees, right? And even though I don't see it 100% like you, what you said is like, oh, no one does it as perfect as me and whatever. I think, and I hire like that, people should be better than me.
Right.
Where's the point hiring someone?
Right.
Right. So I hire like that, but you have to let go, but at the same time, make sure that you communicated everything right. So it's very hard for me, especially in the beginning, communicating, it doesn't matter what it is, communicating it in a way that it is recognized by the other person.
Right.
So, and, I come across like a freak, like a micromanager, like really, like, and here's the thing, like I have led teams so often already that I know I have to take this bad taste, because if I don't do that, people always say, yes, I understood, but they didn't, so, I repeat myself like crazy. Everyone looks at me, it's like, why are you doing that? This is awful. No, it's not. It's making sure that you understood. On the other hand, it's like we do accountability. So every morning we write everything on a whiteboard. Everyone is there.
Right.
It's like, what do you need? What are we doing? And all that kind of stuff. Next morning, we take a picture. Next morning, put it on the screen and say, okay, what was done? Everything is communicated correctly. When we do strategy meetings or sales meetings and stuff like that, we record this, right? So it's there for new people to see what we have done so far. And the communication is very, very important, especially when you build a new team, and that's even more important when you build a culture, right? You're employee number one.
Right.
You are the one that has to decide, where's this supposed to go, right? What kind of culture do I want to have in my company?
Right.
How do I communicate with people? Do I have a hierarchy? Yes, no. If I have one, how flat or steep is it, right?
Right.
I'm not a friend of hierarchies, so I want everyone to feel like, you can tell me anything.
Right.
It's very important, right? Especially in a small team, in a small company where, you don't have the financial buffer for a lot of mistakes. So people have to not be afraid and come to you and it's like, hey, boss, I fucked up.
Yep.
Now what?
Accountability.
So the thing is this, like, okay, no hard feelings. I might be mad at that moment, like roll my eyes at you, whatever. But at least like I know, and now I can do something about it.
You can adapt and overcome that situation.
Right, exactly. And now also like here's one step further. If it's internally, it's bad enough. But now what if it's for a customer?
Right.
They pay us a lot of money to do what we're supposed to do. And if we mess up, then we have to fix it. We have to raise our hand and say, hey, we messed up here.
Right.
So we need to, adjust, counteract, whatever.
Right.
So very, very important from day one when you build a team, be specific about your communication style.
Yep.
Be specific about, hey, people who work make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, I wonder if you work, right?
Right.
That kind of stuff. Raise your hand rather earlier than later, right? Rather sooner than later. Very, very important. A lot of small business owners, when they go from like being the boss, where you're not the boss of anyone, you just own your job, right?
Right.
That's what it is. If you go from there to like hiring a team, what happens often is like, well, now I'm the boss. I just like tell everyone what I want and you do what I want. Just shut up. I don't want to talk to you. It's all my business, right?
Right.
It's the worst. And I've been guilty of that too. When I was made a manager the first time in my life for a big team, multinational, 2 business units, really a lot at stake. I was like that. I was like, all right, I'm the boss. I don't have to listen to you. I'm the boss now.
Right.
Didn't work. A few weeks in, I was actually, reading some books. I went to like Harvard Business Review. There are like books that you can, like short books that you can like download for like $3 or something like that. And it was exactly, two of them were exactly about my problem. You're the manager now, and now what? Right.
See, you took responsibility and ownership of not.
I messed up,
and you went back and you looked up a way to fix it.
Yes,
found the best way,
exactly.
Found the best education, and you were willing to put in the time and the work to make it better, not just for you, but now the whole team, the whole business. And then you become more successful because one, you realized you screwed up. Two, you took ownership of it and you took responsibility. But then, a lot of people stop there. They don't take the action and follow through with the action. Same thing with starting a business.
That's not it. Like what I did was also like beyond that, because I went to the team. I was like, hey, I'm very sorry. I apologize. I did it wrong. Can we reset? That was like a few weeks in, right? They appreciated that because, I was making myself more vulnerable there a lot, right? I was like, I'm very sorry. Let's do it differently. What do you need?
Right.
I'll work for you now. How about that? So, and this is how I handle this from the get-go. And like now, since that moment, if I am in charge of a team, I work for them. They don't work for me. I make sure they can work, right?
Right.
I take all responsibility for all mistakes that they make. That if higher management, customer come, there's going to be a wall. They're never going to go to the person, unless that person does something super stupid, like, safety violations, stuff like that. I cannot do anything about that, right? But beyond that, like anything that isn't safety, and someone people make mistakes, right? That stops at my face. It's like, this is a wall, right? You don't get there. Right. That's my team. You tell me, I'll take it, right? And it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
That's the difference between a leader and a dictator, I guess you could say. A leader, in a business is they're in the trenches with their workers, with their customers. They're there to be the most value they can be. But a dictator is somebody that's sitting up at their mansion, texting the general manager that's the highest up in their business or something. Hey, do this, do that, and then they're not really there. And doing what you did, you not only, it's a pride, it hurts your pride a little bit, and it's like, oh crap, whatever, but you built respect because of that. And then therefore the team's like, oh, I appreciate that. This guy might actually be a decent human being after all.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it didn't even, like, that's what you just said, like, hurts my, I don't take a lot of pride in anything. So that it didn't. So for me, that was not a big deal. That was not the big deal. The big deal was that I realized like a week in after I made the change that it actually worked.
Right.
That was a huge aha moment for me for the future. And that was like, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago, right? Wow. Where since then I have only led teams. I have worked as a freelancer too, yes, but only did it like that. Never had the wanted anyone to feel like, hey, you know what, I'm here and you're here. Right. Because that's not the case. If anything, you're like above me and I'm right here. I just make you work, right?
Right.
Because especially when you work in a team, without the team members, there's no team.
Right.
There's just you. Right.
And then you're stressed and you're spread too thin and you can't do it all. That's why I'm right now trying to delegate, work out to potential hirees but I'm trying to find somebody that wants to be a part of a team, that is willing to take ownership, that is willing to be responsible, that, all these things, that it's more so character and qualities and work ethic than it is skill that they have.
Absolutely.
Because you can learn a skill any day.
Exactly that. Like hire for attitude, train for skill, and you're good. It's very tough right now. Like labor market is tight. I have to say that. It doesn't matter what industry, right? So we're doing industrial automation for the manufacturing industry, where they have a lot of like general labor needs, right? Mm-hmm. Assembly line workers and, all kinds of, maintenance people, operators, everything, right? Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's like right there between, I would say like between, everything, above $15 to like $30 right now in hourly wages, almost impossible.
Yeah.
Almost impossible. There's not enough people. That's the problem. And especially with the general labor, we don't have any programs in place that could help us with like immigration, right?
Right.
We do staffing for high-level engineers like PLC programmers or software engineers or controls engineers, robot programmers, all that kind of stuff. No problem. I can get people from Europe. I can get people from Mexico, Canada. No problem, right?
Right.
I can get farm helpers, seasonal workers. There's visa programs in there too. I can't get anyone over here on a visa from, let's say, Mexico or anywhere else in the world to work at Walmart or work at my assembly line, unless that person is like an engineer, right? Impossible. So, but that's really where it's lacking the most. Like I said, I can get other people from other countries, to fill the gaps that we have here, and other countries have those too. Europe is no better, right? Birth rates went down like crazy the last 40 years, but we added to our economies like crazy all the time. The only reason that worked out was because we had so many baby boomers, right?
Right.
Now, they're retiring at a crazy rate right now. We're talking about 10,000 a day, right? So a lot of, baby boomers, they learned a trade back then. So they're welders, they're, mechanics, all that kind of stuff. And they fade out of the workforce right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, at crazy numbers. But birth rates, nothing. So there's only one way to fix this short term. That's immigration.
Right.
And then the other way to fix this, like longer term, is two things. Either total automation, automate everything because we don't have enough people, or more babies.
Right.
More than half of the population in the Western Hemisphere lives in big cities, and it's just not that easy anymore. People don't want children anymore.
Well,
people want to, that's the problem.
Right.
So I don't see birth rates going up anytime soon. So the other option, immigration and total automation.
Right.
We will see that. We'll see that.
See, like that's an interesting perspective from your trade and what you do for a living, and you've got like that's an awakening to me. You're in the automation and everything, which is crazy, and I wouldn't even know anything about that, which is cool. But it's cool to kind of learn from you a little bit about that and kind of what your perspective is on workforce and businesses and how the success of businesses and automation is a good thing, especially when we have labor shortages and other things like that. But I mean, the labor shortages also come from, baby boomers. They were trade workers. They worked trades, and there was, you could find a plumber on the side of the road any day of the week, and they were able to take you on right then. They weren't booked out for a year,
Right.
Nowadays, a tradesman is booked out for years, but since there's less and less tradesmen because all those baby boomers said, oh, you don't want to work hard like me, go get a blue collar job, be in, this, go to college and be this, go to college and learn this to do, this, it pays more. Well, back then it used to pay more, and, college back then was a lot cheaper. And so they sent their kids and raised them and ingrained them, go to college, don't work hard like me and break your back and never retire. Or if you do retire, it's a miracle kind of thing. But that's all they taught. Now their kids are, growing up, going to college, and they're being pumped full of, all kinds of different ideas and different things. And, people are telling them they're worth more than, what they really are because they don't know anything. So, but you've got now, instead of a few people going to college for, engineering or whatever, which is a great thing to go to school for, people going to college now for art.
Right.
Okay, yeah, there's money in art if you monetize it and you grow that, and actually make it into a business of some sort, like graphic design or, these other things. But the issue is, you go from baby boomers, not enough college degreed, people for the work to do the work kind of thing. Hey, go do that. There's a lack there.
Right.
Well, all these baby boomers sent their, 2 to 4 or 5 kids to college. Now all these kids are in college and they're all going for the same jobs. And then they have kids and they're telling their kids the same thing because it worked, but now it doesn't work because now there's no trades. So that's why I'm kind of in the
Well, that's an interesting perspective on that too. I don't 100% agree with that, but you're right. Like, the generation, I see it more like this. Like it was the generations of people now. We're talking about Gen Xers and, everyone like coming after the baby boomers where, they were taught like by the media and, by their parents and all that kind of stuff that, if you want to make something out of you, then you have to go to college.
Right.
But, at the same time, it was also not only the baby boomers with like, with that learned the trade, but also the baby boomers that didn't. The baby boomers that, were, already academics, right?
Right.
But you're right. Like, it's like those boutique degrees that messed the country up and messed the whole system up. And then now, like, everyone's screaming, like, I want to get rid of my student loans. Well, why don't you just pay them off, Because I don't want to pay yours off. I didn't go to school for that either, right?
Yep.
And then, everyone brings those like examples of like the European countries, especially Scandinavia, but Germany, same. Where it's like, but that's free there. No, it isn't. It's just that everyone pays for that, right?
Exactly.
So, and that leads to a lot of, stipulations when it comes to your normal life, right? It's like, all right, so first of all, you make less money in Germany than you do here.
Right.
That's just stating facts, right? One after another. You make less money over there. You do not pay out of your own pocket directly to the school. Yes, that's a fact, right? Sales tax in Germany for the whole country is 19%. 19. More than double than I think the highest one here in the United States.
Wow.
Right? If taxes in general are more expensive, I do not have free healthcare over there. What it is this. I do have mandatory healthcare. I have to pay it. The moment the only exceptions are if you're self-employed or, if your main income is self-employment, whatever. But, they take away 15% of your salary every month.
Yeah.
Half of that, a little bit more than half of that is paid by you. The rest is paid by your employer, right? So also like for employers, right? The cost that, the side cost that you have to hire someone is way higher. Plus you have the labor laws that are way stricter. You can't just let someone go without a reason, right?
Right.
That's like, okay, but I'm not profitable anymore. What can I do, right? So it's like people are hesitant to hiring. There's a whole deal going on there where it's like, okay, you want that here?
Right.
Just because you decided to get a degree in American history when you were like 17 or 18, right? Never research how many jobs are for those like, graduates actually like every year. Like, I don't know, right? And that's fine. We need history teachers too, professors and whatever, but there's only so many jobs. Maybe some responsibility should also go to the schools being like, hey, you know what? We're full for this year for our quota, right? There should be a nationwide quota for every, because it's like, okay, how many jobs are there, right? If I have a field in the United States of America right now where I, have 55,000 visas given out or more for, let's say, engineers in whatever field, then there should be, some kind of regulation that says, hey, you know what, you should focus on that. Because, we would actually like those jobs to be fulfilled by Americans before we give out those visas, right?
Right.
But nothing like that happens, right? No one cries about that. Everyone cries about, I want my student loans back. Or I don't want, I want to have it forgiven, whatever. It's like, that's just, bad for the following generations, Instead of like, hey, go to trade school, it's not that expensive. And you actually make a shitload of money, all right? It's like, I don't even have words for that. Right now, like if you are a plumber in the United States, even in the rural areas, you always have work and you're probably making way north of 100,000. Way north of that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
Easy.
in my painting business alone, my painting and power washing business alone, I mean, last year, was my first like full year, 12 months in business. I did almost $100,000 and it was not hard at all. And that was by myself.
Right.
Now gross profit as far as like tools that I had to get started, and all those expenses, it was
but you have to depreciate them over time anyways.
Of course.
If you go in and say, hey, the first year I had like $40,000 worth of like equipment that I bought, we have to deduct this. This is not how that works, right? You write it off over what, like 3 to 5 years, something like that, and then if you calculate that in, then your profit isn't that low.
Right.
Yes, the money was gone, but like if you go to a bank, then that's how you do that, right? Here's my income, here's my depreciation. Yep. Even though the money is not there physically anymore, that was your income, right? Your profit also, right? So the thing is that many people don't understand because that's not taught in school either.
Exactly.
Right? That's the problem. It's like there's no small business owner class in school. At least I don't know about it, right? I didn't go to school here, but I had never heard of that.
No,
right?
There isn't. And that's what you have to learn on your own or learn through other successful business owners or, and things like that. And it's the hardest part about learning is to be a self-employed or, a small business owner, the hardest part about learning is knowing what to ask successful business owners, successful people, things like that. And, it was easy for me to start my own painting business because I knew how to make it successful because of my dad.
So your dad had his own painting business already?
He did. He was a painter, a professional painting contractor since he was in his early 20s. His mom or my mom and dad, they had me in their, mid 20s. And, so about my age, they had their first kid, which was me. And, so he's been painting my whole life and I've got pictures of me as a baby painting a wall, so I mean, it's kind of like in my blood, I guess you could say, cause I've been around it for so long and I've got that person in my back pocket and I'm very blessed to have someone like that I could just call up, hey dad, what about this product and how do I do this? It's been like 3 years since we've done a job like
great.
that.
That's absolutely great.
But it's learning, to be a successful business owner, we've got all these obstacles, like, finding the right help and the labor laws. And then you've got, things that don't, generational, consequences for decisions or, what education or whatever you want to, there's all kinds of issues and problems, but, it's being optimistic as a business owner, and really, focusing on what you do know. Mm-hmm. And then mastering that. And, then, once you've got that going, use that to pay your own bills and kind of then start something else. Right. Like that's what I did. I started painting and power washing, and that pays my bills. But now that's not going to make me, super successful. And, I mean, I'm successful, but, there's different levels of success. That's not going to make me rich. That's not going to make me, my, dreams come true kind of thing. It'll get me by. That covers my basis, the basic needs that I have.
So let me ask you this. So what are you doing marketing wise to like blow this up?
Yeah. So, I mean, well, painting and power washing is really just blowing itself up. I don't have any advertising out there other than a Facebook page. And, I barely post on that. I've been very blessed. I mean, I just go door to door. Sometimes if I'm slow, if I have no work for a week, I'll just be door to door talking to everybody I know, contacting previous customers that might have needed more work, letting them know, then they let their neighbors know, oh yeah, this guy does a great job and he's fair. Then, all of a sudden I get the referrals, word of mouth. And that's how my dad was. He just always word of mouth, never advertised really at all. I've been very blessed to be getting into like, very nice neighborhoods. I do one house, the neighbor across the street walks over, hey, you painting? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Power washing too. Can you come over and look at my house? Miss, so-and-so said you were doing a great job and I've seen you working here every day and it looks like you know what you're doing. Yeah, sure. I'll come over and give you a price. And I'm very, I communicate, I'm upfront about it. I'm confident in what I do. And I believe in myself. And they see that and they hire me. And then, they know somebody else and they know somebody else. And
right.
So
it's referrals.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So word of mouth. And then, with the mulch and pine straw thing, that's something that's completely new. So that's something that nobody knows about. This is a thing that can actually
also
be done.
Explain it also,
and you have to explain it, educate the public about it, and that's where I'm going to have to advertise. And so, Facebook marketing, things like that, which I started a little urban marketing business back in the day, and it kept, it paid me pretty good, and I was helping a business and learning ins and outs of that business as well.
But that was all like pay-per-click.
Yeah, it was Facebook marketing, pay-per-click kind of thing. We had a limit budget, I got over 50,000 views. I self-taught myself through YouTube, to do everything. I went to school for graphic design and, public relations. And, but I dropped out of that because I was like, hey, is this going to help me get a job? And they're like, we don't know. Like the market's pretty saturated right now. You might be able to do something. And I'm like, that's not good enough. I'm not going to continue to pay tens of thousands of dollars every single year for maybe you might get a job that might pay your debt back.
That's it. For me, to be honest, this whole deal was like college degrees for what? What are we talking about? You want to
right.
Operate a surgery on my open heart?
Please go get a degree.
Yes, please do that. That's fine. I want you to have one. I pay you a little bit extra to have one.
Right.
Do you want to defend me in a lawsuit? Please have a degree. Please know where everything is. Be a member of the bar and all that kind of stuff. Yes.
Right.
Graphic design. No.
Go learn on YouTube. That's what I did.
You learn on YouTube, and you learn by doing. You learn by doing is like, I'm an engineer. All right.
Right.
I'm an engineer. I'm not the best graphic designer. I'm not the best videographer. I'm not the best photographer. I'm not the best anything, right? But even I was able to do that so far by myself, right? Where, like I said, I learned that on the side. YouTube University.
Yep.
Right? That's what it is. The question is, do you have the drive and the time to do that?
Right.
Do you want to do that? Do you want to spend 700 hours on YouTube and on like Photoshop and all those apps,
right,
until you're like good enough? I'm not even saying perfect, right? Good enough to get something going. Yep. Do you have the time? Do you want to do it? Right.
Well, in college, they taught me, different types of marketing. They taught me, styles of graphic design and how to do a little programming, or like Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, designing and whatnot, and the basics. And that was it. And then I went out on my own. I'm like, okay, well, I know these basics, but I don't even know how to really post an ad. I don't really know how to, do advertising on Facebook and get people to see my videos and this and that and the other. And so I went on YouTube and I worked, 8 a.m. to 9, 10 p.m. as a car salesman. I hated that job. People around me were just horrible to work with. It was just a bad experience. And that culture was just not right for me. So I'd get home at night, I'd cook a quick meal, or I prepped or something like that, which is rare. But I'd eat some dinner real quick, whether it be a bowl of cereal, ramen, or a burger I cook on the grill real quick. Then I'd go and I sit down in front of YouTube with my notebook and just start watching YouTube videos on how to this, that, and the other. And I self-educated myself through that. And as I went on, I had other questions, and I just YouTubed it. And
so are you considering are you doing any content marketing in the sense of like what we do here? It's like,
no, I'm not really doing anything right now as far as marketing yet. I know how to do Facebook ads now. I'm looking at trying to do that more so for Mulchmaster spray solutions there, because that takes a lot more education to be able to be successful.
That's the point I wanted to make. So yeah, I don't think you should start with pay-per-click ads.
Yeah.
It's like, because you have to explain so much.
Right.
Why don't you write down all the questions that your customers ask you when you talk about it?
Right.
Write them all down, right? Write them all down, because those questions will come to mind for everyone else too, right? Hey, I have a question. I have mulch in my bag. Can you change this? Can you, whatever?
Right.
Can you exchange it, renew, whatever? And you're like, hey, I have a solution, this and that, right?
Yeah.
Write all this down, and then, you answer those specific questions on YouTube.
Yeah.
Every time someone has a question like that, because there will not be very many people with that kind of, solution, or even it's YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world, right? Next to Google.
Right.
So part of Google too. interconnected, meaning like if they don't find an article about that or an ad, they will show videos if there are any, right?
Right.
So if you are the guy that, answers those specific questions and you're the only guy or one of three, yeah, the likelihood, that you are the chosen one for that family or for that person that actually, has the problem and tries to educate himself or herself already online, is like actively raising the hand. It's like, I have a problem, please help me. That's your clientele,
Right.
It's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we can help you. You rank way better.
Yeah.
You will never rank that good in Google alone with your website or whatever you have, right?
Right.
You rank way better. YouTube is the way to go with this. I would highly recommend for you to go the route of I give you all the information for free. By the way, if you want us to do it, here we are.
Right.
That's going to change your business.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's something I'm starting to utilize is the people around me, their skills. Like my wife, she went to school, got her degree in, digital cinema and, creating movies and, commercials, just behind the scenes camera work and all that stuff. And she knows her stuff and is really good at editing and doing stuff like that. And, so my goal is to kind of have her, eventually when we get the right camera set up to do videos and things
I wouldn't wait for that, to be honest.
You could use the iPhone, yeah, for sure.
Just use the iPhone.
Right.
Like the thing is this, don't wait for the camera gig to come in.
Right.
The only thing I would rather put more emphasis on sound than video.
That's true. Yeah.
Because, it's like people can forgive a not so good video quality. If you take an iPhone, a modern one, right, and you go outside at daylight, of course, picture quality is going to be great.
Right.
You can shoot 4K, whatever you want, right? Spend money on the sound. That's it. Do not just use the iPhone microphone. Buy one of those cheap lavaliers or whatever,
right.
Or maybe even a shotgun microphone or something like that. Record with that. If the sound is great, as long as people can still see what you're doing on camera, it doesn't matter.
Right.
No one gives a heck. Nothing. Right. You should see. I have a few YouTube channels. You should see the first ever on one of my channels, the first ever video I posted out of my basement, in horrible light conditions, horrible, picture. It just didn't look good, right?
Right.
The basement I was recording in, it was in the background, didn't look good. Most successful video.
Isn't that crazy?
No, it's not crazy because it's not about that. It's about you helping people.
Well, that's what's crazy is people think, it has to be like I was saying, you have to have all the right stuff. And I was talking about with the guy next door, he thought he had to have all the right stuff. I've done YouTube videos before with my phone, no problems at all.
Yeah.
A microphone, like you're saying, is very important. So that way that's, when there's background noise, they hear you and they don't focus on that and get distracted and, things like that. But, it's not necessarily just the, equipment. It's for me, that it would be nice to have all the equipment, whatever, that'd be great. But you don't have to have that. You could start off, with just the bare minimum, and you're going to get fans. You're going to get people that find that valuable and that will, keep watching and refer you. Yeah. And then it'll just keep growing from there. It's more so, getting in that business, the work and getting, lined up to where my wife right now, she's working a full-time job as well. So it's hard to kind of, okay, do I, tell her to quit her job and come do this for me, and help me in other things and, all these things. Yeah, it'd be great. We'd be able to spend time together, all this stuff. But right now her paycheck's consistent. I'm self-employed. I might be dead with all three businesses for a month. I don't know what the future looks like. And for people looking to get into self-employment or starting their own business, that's a risk that, they have to consider.
Yes, that's true. My experience with this is this. If you have a safety net, you're not going to do much.
I agree. Yep.
So, desperation is a huge motivator.
Mm-hmm.
Desperation and devastation is a huge motivator.
Yep.
2020 was, for me, the beginning of 2020 was like, oh my God, again, coming back to accountability and stuff like that, right? Where I was like, well, not my fault. Happens to everyone right now. It's so bad. Nothing goes. Not my, not my, how is that my fault? Kind of thing. And I was looking for a job, right? And I got a job, a really well paid one. They paid me like 140K or something, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't complain about that.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Right.
I hated it. I couldn't work with the owner. I was awful. Hindsight, I think it was a lot me. It was a lot me that I did not want. I was just unhappy, right? Because my dream is to have a business and do not work. Like, I work for other people all the time, but do not work for someone as a W-2 employee, right? So I was unhappy. I wasn't performing the right way, and at the end, because I hated it so much. And of course, at that time, I thought it was all his fault and not mine, right? I quit my job. My wife looked at me like, you're crazy, and, every time, I tell that story, she's like, well, there was a lot more words said. It's like, yeah, I know that. So, but at the same time, it was like, okay, so I was very desperate at that time. So what am I going to do now, right? It's like, picked up the phone, called everyone I knew. I was like, you need a programmer? And everyone told me the same. Well, nothing goes right now. We're all like crawling under the desk, basically. I mean, that's not what they said, but that's what they did. Especially the salespeople, they were like, yep, nothing I can do right now. Yeah. All right. So a good friend of mine, down here in Chattanooga at the time, we lived still in Chicago. He was like, well, I have 6-7 programmers sitting around here right now. I have nothing to do for them. I don't fire them because they're hard to get by after when everything picks up again. What I really need is a salesperson.
Yeah.
Okay. Then watch me. So I picked up the phone, called other people, different set of people, and told everyone, it's like, you need people? I have tons of people here. And then this whole COVID deal was like, people couldn't fly over anymore from Europe to the United States for a while. So, but their project went on, right? So perfect situation for me, because suddenly I had people here onshore. I had people offshore that needed the people. We connected all the people, in those 6 months between June and end of the year. I had 400% growth to the best year I had ever before.
Yeah.
400% in just half a year.
That's awesome.
Right? The year afterwards, the next full year was another 100%. Now that's like 2 years ago. Now this year we're going to have another 80%. Right. And then now that we're starting the marketing and everything, for next year, we're going to, aim for 10x.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
That's goals, right?
Yeah.
So now let's execute on those. That's only possible with leverage. But, it was a mindset shift, because suddenly I was like, you know what? Now it's my responsibility. It was, in hindsight, it was all my fault. I could have done that from the get-go, and I would probably have benefited from that. I wouldn't have had 400% growth. I would have had the 800% growth in 2020.
Right.
If I would have, switched.
And that, like I was going to say, like that goes back to, the mindset shift, people being negative or being, choosing to be positive, choosing to look at the good things, which then brings happiness.
Absolutely.
Like instead of, going from, you went from, oh, I hate my job, I don't enjoy this, all this stuff, to, oh crap, I got to make something happen.
Right.
And then that led into, that you're in desperation at that point, like you were saying, and that created action, and then that action created outcome.
Right.
And that outcome and the right timing and everything, it was all meant to be for a reason, but you learned from your mistakes, owned up to them, and moved on.
Right.
And a lot of people don't do that. People, oh, woe is me. I'm poor. Give me. It's your fault. Give me. Instead of saying, no, it's my fault, my decisions to be here, and realizing, yeah, my parents were poor, maybe they were horrible, in a horrible position, and now I am too.
Exactly.
Instead of thinking like that, it was, woe is me, give me, give me.
Everyone, especially here in the United States, can turn their life around.
Exactly.
But not only here,
just
also
a decision.
I think even in the most countries in Europe, same. It's like, it's not as good as here, but it's still good enough to you have freedom.
Right.
Even if it's not as much as here, but you have freedom. You can turn your life around easily.
Right.
Well, that being said, Thank you very much for being on the show. We have to like wrap up a little bit because we have someone else coming in.
Yeah, no, for sure.
In a minute here, Derrick Urban. So tell me very shortly, how can people find you? You're operating here out of Chattanooga, or
Chattanooga, Cleveland area, the surrounding area as well. I even go down to North Georgia if I, every now and then for jobs. But I'm on social media. My Mulch Master Spray Solutions company, its Instagram is Mulch Master TN. And soon getting that website up and growing as well. It's mulchmasterspraysolutions.com. And then Elite Auto Styling is just kind of by phone number, 706-897-8049. And my painting business is also, you can get a hold of me at that phone number anytime, really. But my painting business is on Facebook as Elite Customs Painting and Power Washing. And you can see my work on there as well. But if anybody ever has any questions about business, wants to talk about life and business, I'm always down for that. That's what I'm passionate about, because that's kind of what everything revolves around these days. So
sure, absolutely. At least for now.
Yeah, right.
All right. So, well, like I said, thank you so much, and hope to see you soon again.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me.